So I don't have any drum roll, but I do have and this one is actually kind of a 1A and a 1B because I just couldn't separate them out, and I wanted top five. It sounded more you know like classic. But this guy has been such an important witness from the very beginning, from every trial, and it's certainly not going to be any different when he testifies, if it happens, in the Wendi trial. This is, of course, the professor, Jeffrey Lacasse, the former boyfriend. Of course, you're going to be saying right out of the box, this guy's the jilted lover. He's got reasons to lie, and you got to mistrust everything he has to say. Okay, I mean, that's something that the jury is going to have to sink their teeth into at some point. But the first point I want to use is, let me find it here. Remember, they had this kind of weird breakup where they were breaking up and then they weren't breaking up. And then when he thought they were broken up, Wendi reaches out and says, "Let's go do yoga." And there was one of the lighter moments in the courtroom when he said, I didn't even know why we were doing yoga, stretching for 80 minutes. So clearly not a yoga fan. You're a yoga fan.
Yeah, no,
is that what it is? Stretching for 80 minutes?
Well, that could be one day of yoga. I mean, there's all sorts of different types of yoga, but they obviously went to a stretching class because he doesn't do yoga, right?
Yeah,
he's not going to do a very vibrant class of yoga.
He is, as my friend Fonnie would say,
typical man.
No, he's not. There's a lot of men.
The girl wants to go do yoga. I'm in. I'm going. Okay, so let's listen to what happened after yoga.
Okay, what happens as you walk away?
Get about 10, 15 feet away from her, and she calls after me. I turn around, and she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday. I had a trip to Tennessee planned, and she wanted to know if I was going on that trip, and she wanted to know what route I would be taking. And if I didn't go on the trip, why wouldn't I go on the trip? And I answered the questions as best I could, but I was confused why at that moment she wanted to know the details of what I was doing on Friday when she expressly didn't want to spend time with me on Friday.
Okay, and we now know that Dan Markel was murdered on Friday.
Yes.
Right? If you had taken the trip as planned, which is as you reported to Wendi that day, what would your route have been?
I would have left my house at about 11 a.m., which Wendi knew. I'd related my plan to her earlier in the relationship. Needed to get to Atlanta for dinner and was worried about traffic and stuff like that. So I would have left at 11 and I would have driven down. I would have got to Capitol Circle in Thomasville, which is close enough to Danny's house that it kind of gave me the creeps. It was kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got confused partly because he said I was going to Tennessee, and then he's talking about going to Atlanta. And I've made that trip. That's a good 4-hour drive, but I guess it was on the way to where he was ultimately going to be in Tennessee. So part A to my number one, to our number one, is just the fact that why she's so concerned, especially since they've broken up. Why is she so concerned about where he's going to be and where he's going to go? This, of course, leads to the theory that she was setting him up. And I have to believe there is a ton of additional evidence that circulates around this theory, right? And ultimately, the reason he changed plans, which she did not know.
Right, but I think that's so important. She did not know.
Yeah, and again, there's going to be all kinds of other witnesses to testify about that. People that were on the receiving end of his trip. All of that information is going to circle back to the fact that she was very concerned that he followed and was near the house at or about the time the murder was supposed to take place. In, by the way, a car, and I didn't include this, it's kind of a subset. His car looked strikingly like the car used by Sigfrido Van Garcia and Mr. Rivera. They had a Prius. His was not a Prius, but kind of that generic silverish looking sedan.
Right. And remember, she had broken up with him by email the Tuesday before the homicide, before the murder. And she did it by email because she didn't like to have, she didn't want, the confrontation.
Conflict.
Yeah. She didn't like confrontation, and told him in the email not to call her or talk to her for a week. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's suspicious when it goes into that.
Yeah. And he even said in his testimony here that, so he never even responded to that. He thought it was weird that she was doing it in the first place and then never reached out to say, well, what do you need a week for? I think we've broken up already. I think we've broken up. So the ultimate biggie, and there's so many that will come from Jeff Lacasse's testimony. He is a critical witness. But there's that moment that he talks about that you have to believe he is just making stuff up, or it is huge in terms of incriminating evidence. Let me bring him back. Where'd you go there, bud?
Okay, while you're looking for it, let me just tell you that has to do with sworn statements that are prior. It does not have to do if you give use immunity for unsworn statements, which a police interview is unsworn. But thank you very much. Justice is a process, but it's not applicable. Sorry.
Okay, are you ready? Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was getting a little tired of this whole drama around the relocation. And so I pushed back on Wendi a little bit and said, like, you're going to have to kind of make your peace with this. You're going to have to take some responsibility for this. You're linked to Dan Markel for life. Kind of challenged her a little bit. And she said, well, can I tell you something confidentially? And I said, sure. And she said, last summer.
You notice there was an objection there for hearsay, and of course it is a alleged statement of co-conspirators. So what were they so concerned about keeping out?
The objection is overruled. You may continue with your answer.
She
Can
said,
I tell you something in confidence?
yeah, can I tell you something? After I challenge her, can I tell you something in confidence? Sure. Well, last summer, my brother looked into all options possible to take care of the Denny Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost about $15,000.
Okay. And when she referred to her brother, she's got two of those, right?
She said Charlie.
Okay. And when she said Charlie looked into hiring a hitman, are you familiar with Charlie's joke? I looked into hiring a hitman, but got you a TV as a divorce present because it was cheaper.
Yeah, Wendi told me that joke a couple of times. This was not that joke.
Okay, so this was something different.
Yeah, the joke was said with levity. It's a dark joke, but this I found chilling. I found disturbing. It made my stomach flip. It kind of took me aback. She was dead serious when she said this, and she'd asked to tell me in confidence, which you don't do before you tell a joke.
Okay, so I want to take you.
Well, I think that is brutal, and in and of itself is so incriminating and damning and leads to so many other possibilities in terms of Wendi Adelson's involvement. I just want to see how they weave all of this together. I truly believe she will be charged.
I had a conversation with you today. You said, what are the maybe that she won't be charged? I said, well, maybe Georgia Kappelman is leaving the office because she has hired a lawyer to take her calls, to be her representative on the calls. Maybe Sarah Dugan's leaving the office because she is applying for judgeships. So maybe if they plan on leaving the office, and I don't know this, maybe they're thinking that's it, the end of it. That's the end of their involvement, unless somebody from the office takes over. That's a possibility, right? That could happen.
I suppose I would hope that, and I wish them the best wherever they're going to end up, but I would hope that would not be the reason to, further prosecute anybody who's done anything wrong. Wendi Adelson, Harvey Adelson. I would hope that if they were leaving because they felt it was done, it's because they were not going to charge anybody, not just because we're done with this. Somebody else can pick up the loose ends.
And somebody asked, Aaron Penner, you ask very good questions, Aaron, all the time, who's recently joined us as a member. Could the state get Jeff's testimony about Wendi asking about young children's memories to Wendy's trial? The answer is yes, because the reason it was precluded in this trial is because there hadn't been discovery on it, hadn't been turned over. But the next trial, that will have been turned over, and that could come in if Wendi is charged there.
Yep, and he wasn't designated as an expert, and that's expert type testimony. You and I are.
But not the fact that she asked about it.
No, for him to submit that testimony, it's expert type testimony.
I disagree. I think that the fact that she asked about it's not. What he may have told her could possibly.
Oh, sure, of course.
But even the fact that she asked about it was ruled that inadmissible because it had not been disclosed.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure that was appropriate, because the answer, I think, would have been inappropriate, and they did strike the answer. But the question was still hanging out there for the jury. You know,
Yeah,
why
so-
would she be so concerned about something like that?
Right. And you know, the mother, Donna, was concerned at some point. That made a statement of later on when we had those tapes about the kids don't have any memory or something. They're not upset. They don't have any memory or something like that. Thank you, American Dreamer, again for that one Justice Serve TV membership.
American Dreamer, right? That's I like that. Hey, I have some bonus, Markel. Okay.
Bonus Markel.
yeah.
Wow.
The case, not him. And this is from the witness we just heard from. Thanks to Mentor Lawyer, because I scrounged this from the Deep Dive True Crime site. You may or may not remember that Jeff Lacasse was interviewed 3 times by the cops, 3 times for many hours. The last one was March 6, 2015. And after going through most of it, I just came on some interesting back and forth that took place toward the end of that last interview. And remember, we haven't heard everything from this guy, right? I mean, this guy's got so much to talk about. So let me just play just a little snip of it, because I do think what he has to say gives us some insight as to maybe what we might hear if there is another trial. Let me find it here. Where are you? Yeah, oh, there you are. Again, this is from the 3rd interview that was given to the police by Jeff Lacasse, and he was really talking about so many things relating to his relationship with Wendi.
Then you're a U.S. citizen. You don't. There's nothing that. Yes, they have First Amendment in their favor, but that doesn't mean you have to say a thing.
No, I appreciate that, but I watched Dateline enough that I can just imagine that me being presented with these pseudo suspects, that's how they do it. You know, they
Let me back it up. He's talking to, I guess, Detective Isom is his name. And he's concerned, Jeff is concerned about the media, among other things. How do I, in your experience, how do I fend off the media? He's already been approached. Remember, this is a full, almost 9 months after the incident.
in his emails, I'm like, oh, great. So
I would not worry about it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see a concern there. I don't
It's
know
actually
if you would
2015.
hail-
I just said,
Yeah, so it's about 9 months after.
Right.
Does this sound like someone who's being stalked? This isn't trying to work this out with you, maybe, or maybe not, but there's no mention of that.
So I mean, I look at that as you were showing a defense for why you would not be.
The one other email I sent him, I pretty much accused her.
But I mean, obviously you should.
Backstory, I didn't get into this in too much detail because what's coming is what I'm interested in. But the backstory was that Wendy's fooling around on Jeff when they had what he thought was an exclusive relationship. And there was all kinds of evidence of that.
It's more than that. I mean, yeah, you more than just suspect her at this point. That's what you've been telling me this afternoon, right?
That's true. That's
What I'm basically gotten from you is this woman is directly involved.
She is.
Now, I don't think you're saying necessarily that she killed her ex-husband,
No.
but she either had something to do with orchestrating it or had knowledge that it was going to happen. That's the whole point about I have to be back on the 18th, right?
Yeah, give you a thumbs up, and then and know what's going to happen. There's something weird about that day, so I don't think she doesn't have the skill to orchestrate it, but Charlie does. So that's correct. And
But you left on Thursday, and your last conversation with her was on Wednesday.
my last conversation with her was on Tuesday. Yeah, an hour before that email where she says, "Look, I need a week."
No, on the email, she says she needs a week.
Yeah.
An hour before she sends the email, she says, "Are you still in town on Friday?"
That's exactly right.
And you said, "I don't know, it's still up in the air."
Yeah.
But she did not ask you to stay in town.
No, she did. Like the next day, I see Jay McPherson at work, and maybe there's all kinds of possibilities. So she would have found out I was leaving. Do you have any suggestions? If I know they're doing a Dateline on the Frosh guy. They kept his wife out in Thomasville, and they only came to town. Any just advice from being an experienced investigator what I should do if I'm approached by the media? Because it's not unimaginable.
Go talk to investigator Ice.
Okay,
How simple is that?
that's easy.
Okay, go talk to Investigator Isom. So he does 2 things in this part of his interview. First of all, he reinforces the whole breakup bizarreness that took place. But also, and it didn't make our top 5, but very important, was her concern that they had that trip planned to California. And they were scheduled to be gone from the 13th to the 17th, right? 17th is a
Right.
Thursday, right?
Right.
So
Killing was
she-
on the 18th, right?
yes, that's on a Friday. So they were set to be back on Thursday. She canceled the trip because she was concerned about having to pick the kids up on Friday. And if something happened in their flight from Southern California to Atlanta and then ultimately to Tallahassee, that she would somehow not be able to pick the kids up at 5 o'clock on Friday. They're due back the entire day before. So did make our top 5, but certainly that's going to be an issue. That's going to come up. I think there's going to be discussions about his concern for her fidelity, because that's going to suggest bias, motive on his part to lie, to make up all of this stuff. So that's going to come in. It's going to be ugly.